OCO Tahiji, Don Curtis Yargee. What I said was, hello, how are you? My name is Curtis Yargee in the Cherokee language. I'd like to speak to you about the importance of the Cherokee language and why it's important to preserve our language. Without it, the cultural identity and heritage would be lost. In 2002, the Cherokee Nation performed a study and found that no one under the age of 40 years old could speak the Cherokee language fluently. That meant that the Cherokee Nation was one generation away from losing its language entirely. So in a mass effort, they started teaching Cherokee at the Cherokee Nation Sequoia High School and the Cherokee Immersion Language School. The loss of the language could be attributed to the Civil War and as recent as the 1930s, when Cherokee orphans were taken and placed inside orphan training facilities or orphan asylums, such as Anadarko, Riverside, which is located in Anadarko, and Sequoia High School, which was then known as the Sequoia Orphan Facility. At these facilities, the Cherokee children were taught that speaking their language was wrong and were punished for doing so, to the point where they had their mouths washed out with soap and their hair cut, and they were kept away from each other. Brothers and sisters were placed in different dormitories and even on separate rooms. That way they could not have contact with one another and couldn't speak to one another in the Cherokee language. The language could have been lost entirely at that point if it wasn't for strong individuals who decided to continue speaking in secrecy even. When they came home, when they eat on the weekends or whenever they were allowed to go back home, they would speak to one another in their native language. But when they went back, they were again reminded that speaking the native language was wrong and again punished for doing so. Many of these teachings carried on with these students, so when they grew up, they didn't pass the language down to their offspring as they should have. And in 2013, the Chickasaw Nation lost its last tribal member who could speak fluently. This could have happened to the Cherokee Nation just recently. This could have happened to the Cherokee Nation if they didn't make that effort to preserve their language in 2002. Today, the public schools receive funds through Title IV and through Title VII that could be used to teach Cherokee, could be used to pay teachers, individuals, Cherokee speakers to become certified become certified teachers. Because it is not offered in a public school. Cherokee classes are only offered online or at universities where they're paid for per credit hour, but they're not taught in public schools where a foreign language is required. 2 foreign languages are required. Cherokee is not considered a foreign language, but it's also not considered a native language is not considered. Well, it's not. It doesn't account towards any credit towards graduation. It's not broken down as a grammar. It's like Comp 1 or Comp 2. It isn't taught, even though Cherokee is an established language in its written form. It has a syllabary. Yet we're not taught as children, or even in middle school or high school, that it could be useful inside the Cherokee Nation. The Cherokee Nation has 14 counties, and all schools inside the Cherokee Nations are funded by the Cherokee Nation through the sales of a Cherokee Nation tags. This money could be used to pay teachers or to implement programs that would help preserve the culture, the language. Again, without the language, our culture, heritage, and identity will be lost. The school I went to was 80% Cherokee, according to the Johnson O'Malley program, and according to the Department of Motor Vehicles, Cherokee Nation Department of Motor Vehicles. Yet we weren't offered Cherokee as a foreign language. All that was taught at that time was Spanish, or was French, or German. I argued with the teacher that I had been speaking a foreign language since I got in school, that English was my foreign language. Of course, she argued that English wasn't a foreign language, and I had to go to the principal and talk to him, and he agreed with me that English was our foreign language and that Cherokee was our native language. Yet Cherokee wasn't offered as a primary language in the school. It wasn't offered at all, even though we had so many Cherokee students. Again, I stress that the Cherokee language needs to be preserved for our generation, because without it, we lose our culture, our heritage, and our identity. Without that, the Cherokee Nation, or the Cherokees, we're a lost generation, we're lost people. Thank you for your time. What else?